Oh, Politico, The Times, and The Washington Post got their hands on internal documents from the Trump campaign and just sat on them? Goodness, I wonder where this sudden burst of morals and ethics has come from. Because when Russia hacked Clinton's emails in 2016, they couldn't publish them fast enough. Oh, but Trump got hacked by Iran. Supposedly. Well, that's a bridge too far. We have standards to uphold. Since when? I very much remember 2016 when there was an honest-to-God Politico live blog that was dedicated to covering them. The Podesta emails. Christ, Politico made it sound like a dossier of the most scandalous information, instead of just the insider gossip it was. Guess what happened at a meeting with Chelsea Clinton's mother-in-law? Ladies and gentlemen, we can stop looking. We found John Podesta's risotto recipe. These are the self-declared guardians of democracy, and they just couldn't get enough of publishing their version of a burn book. But hey, they claim public interest in publishing these stolen emails. In the intervening 8 years, something seems to have changed. Suddenly their definition of the public interest has taken a back seat to the propriety of publishing campaign materials that may have been illicitly taken. They looked in the mirror and said, "We must be better." At least when it comes to Republicans. Because that's what all of this is about. One set of rules for everybody else, one set of rules for Republicans. And that's because media organizations are in the tank for the Republican Party. That's not a surprise or a big revelation. The media is owned by rich people like tax cuts, Republicans give rich people tax cuts. It's not a hard connection to make. You know, when I heard that Politico, The Post, and The Times were sitting on leaked Trump campaign documents, my first point of comparison wasn't the Clinton emails. Okay, that's a lie, it was. It's a massive, glaring hypocrisy that requires an explanation from the highest level of these organizations about why they decided Republicans get treated with kid gloves while Democrats get the public interest standard. There's no way I or anyone else wouldn't immediately think of the Clinton emails first. They both were apparently stolen by foreign powers in the middle of an election cycle and have been leaked to news outlets to damage campaigns, with the only substantive difference being one campaign was Republican and one was Democratic. But when I thought about it, there was another very relevant comparison to be made. One that feels less relevant because there are more differences, but sharply brings into focus the problem. That major for-profit news organizations are motivated more by their loyalty to the Republican Party than public interest. So let's journey back 20 years to 2004. It's an election year, Kerry the challenger versus Bush the incumbent. The Iraq War is in full swing, the Afghanistan War is in full swing, and all anyone can talk about is how scandalous George W. Bush's less than concealed swift boat attacks on John Kerry are. But let's ignore all that, because we've launched back in time for a very specific reason. See, right before the election, the New York Times was investigating a big story. During their global war on terror, the Bush administration had launched a massive warrantless wiretapping scheme, which was highly illegal. And the Times found out about it. They were going to publish the whole thing right before the election, which would have obliterated Bush's chances of winning the presidency. But then Republicans showed up, cried crocodile tears, and said, "National security, terrorists will punch babies if you publish that we're committing crimes." The leadership at the Times replied, "Oh, I had no idea. I don't want babies to get hurt," and backed down. Bush won the 2004 election, and that was that. Except in late 2005, they all of a sudden changed their minds and published everything. Which is a welcome change, but why? Well, James Risen, one of the reporters who was responsible for the original story, wasn't about to let all his hard work go to waste. No one else had reported it, so he went out and wrote a book that reported the story. It was due out in January 2006. So New York Times didn't publish this warrantless wiretapping story out of some high-minded ideal of public interest. They didn't want to get scooped by their own reporter. They published because of ego. And only when forced to, because James Risen was about to publish a book detailing the entire story. Bringing it back to the present, that's exactly what happened here. Propublica, the opposite of a big media company, recently dropped a story on the Trump campaign and Project 2025. Project 2025, without getting too much into it, is the Republican plan for if Trump wins in 2025. Ban anything to do with LGBT, ban climate change, ban minimum wage, ban birth control, average conservative nonsense. The source for this story was a series of internal videos from the Trump campaign, which were helpfully leaked by somebody, which is more detail than Propublica goes into about who leaked them because they don't even talk about it. They've got the videos, here's what's in them. Rather refreshing if you ask me. But to really drive home the level of hypocrisy about this incident, let's get the timeline down. Propublica published this on August 10th, 2024 at 5 a.m. Politico dropped their story acknowledging that they had the documents at 2 that afternoon, while also acknowledging they'd had them for weeks. To be clear, from what I understand, they have different documents. And Politico isn't the only one to have received a big leak from the Trump campaign. The Washington Post, owned by one of the richest people on Earth, also received a similar stash of documents to Politico. And when you know it, they didn't publish they had them until 7 p.m. of August 10th, 14 hours after Propublica made it clear they were publishing. And New York Times didn't even acknowledge they'd received them until the next day. I guess that Friday was an off day for them. It looks like to me they saw Propublica publishing what got leaked to them, panicked, and published a story saying they had the documents. Honestly, it's almost the exact same situation, beat for beat. Large media organizations acting as catch-and-kill agents for a Republican presidential campaign until forced to publish by someone who wouldn't play by the rules, in this case, Propublica. Where's the willingness to publish anything that led to the world learning about James Podesta's risotto recipe? Why is everybody so worried about publishing Trump's docs? If it helps, he's totally behind it. Here's him in 2016 letting us know exactly how he feels about stolen documents being published.
But it would be interesting to see. I will tell you this. Russia, if you're listening, I hope you're able to find the 30,000 emails that are missing. I think you will probably be rewarded mightily by our press.
Feels like that's a hall pass to publish any documents you get from the Trump campaign. But that's if you assume large news organizations like the Times, the Post, and the Politico actually believe the bull they say about informing the public and working for the greater good. They are for-profit companies meant to benefit people at the top. And that means covering for Republicans and going after Dems, unless doing so would endanger business. You may disagree with that, but if you disagree, I'd encourage you to publish your theory of why this is happening. My theory explains why the Times protected George W. Bush in 2004 and why they published in 2005. It also explains why Politico, the Times, and the Post all didn't say anything about these documents until Propublica published their Project 2025 scoop. James Risen, the reporter who broke the original story back in 2004 about the Bush warrantless wiretapping, is still working at the Intercept, so go subscribe, they do good work. And go check out Propublica's work on Project 2025. The story is very interesting and deserves all the attention it can get. I personally will be watching all the Project 2025 videos they publish because they're probably really funny. Links to the Intercept, the Propublica story, and a playlist for the Project 2025 videos will be in the description. I urge you to check them out. I also urge you to skip reading the Times, Politico, and the Washington Post. They don't seem to have your best interests at heart. I'm History Sock, and I'll see you at the next committee hearing.